All right. So I am an endurance athlete. I played soccer for most of my life, and more recently, I've started running more and doing stuff like track and field and running just in general. So I would say that I'm an endurance athlete, and as an endurance athlete that runs a lot and does all sorts of those things, it's kind of important to have endurance, to have stamina, to have the ability to keep going and to keep producing work. And I remember a time throughout this last soccer season that I was in, whenever I was training with my team and we were doing this like short sided game where you're kind of like running back and forth. Basically, the it's like basically like doing the pacer test, but with a soccer ball, in a way, and you're just running back and forth. You're chasing people, trying to get the ball away from them, and you're trying to run around and get open because it's such a small field. And my team had the ball for a lot of the time. One, because I practiced a lot more soccer than most of the guys on my team did. Actually, I was the guy who practiced the most on the entire team, besides maybe one other guy. And so I was basically running circles around some of the people whenever I had the ball, or whenever my team had the ball. I was running around, I was going super fast, like I was cooking, dude. And we came to a stopping point. I think the ball went out of bounds or something. And this freshman, he was kind of up on my back trying to cover me and whatnot. And he asked me, like, dude, how do you have so much endurance, bro? Like, how do you have so much stamina? Like, he was like gasping for breath, like, and I would like to think that that's because of a few things that I've been doing in my life. And that's the thing that I want to share with you today is how my lifestyle is in order to be a better endurance athlete, to have stamina, and more specifically on what I'm eating that kind of facilitates that. And so that, I think it was a morning practice that we did that. I hadn't actually eaten anything leading up to that practice. I was actually fasted. And so before I begin, I actually want to talk about just, I think, the training and just the general lifestyle that you have besides food is way more important than the food itself. I think food does play like a pretty big role, but I think the amount of training that you do, your general lifestyle, like your sleep, your stress throughout the day, if you're getting enough freaking like sunlight throughout the day, if you're having social interactions, if you're just a general healthy human being beyond the food itself, then I think that also has a huge role to play. And leading up to that point, I had done a decent amount of running. I had played soccer, but I hadn't done like a crazy amount of endurance work, to be honest. I'd done some like sprints throughout that summertime, and like I didn't done any like super long runs where I'm like running for an hour straight. I was just doing sprints and maybe a little bit longer sprints, maybe some like mile repeats every like here and there. But I didn't done a ton leading up to that point, to be completely honest. I hadn't done a massive amount. And so I would like to contribute a lot of that stamina that I had at that moment in time to just not only maintaining my conditioning from the training that I'd done previously, but just I think the food had actually helped my conditioning a lot. And so that's what I'm going to talk about. So, like I was saying before, that morning, I believe it was a morning practice, I was actually fasted. I didn't eat anything leading up to that. I was I had just drinking some water with maybe a little bit of salt in it, and I was ready to go because it was like an earlier morning practice, probably like 7, 8 o'clock. It was actually light outside in the morning because it was summertime or late summer, right? And so I was fasted. I had no food leading up to that. I had some food like the night before, and I was just gonna eat breakfast like after practice. And I found that fasting has actually helped me a lot because whenever I don't eat food, there is not really any weight in my stomach, and I found that I'm just lighter. I can move around more. I don't feel resources being pulled away from my body into my digestive system. Does that make sense? Like I've learned recently that whenever you eat food, you probably should be more of this like rest and digest. And so your body kind of pulls more resources to digesting food because it's like there's a lot that goes into digesting food, right? Like your body has to like break it down and then use enzymes and whatever to break down the food and then pass it through so you actually absorb the stuff. Like there's a lot that goes on in that. And whenever you're trying to work out and digest food at the same time, I think you're just expending a lot of unnecessary energy in like contrasting systems. Because if you ever heard of like, you've probably heard of this, like fight or flight and um, rest and digest. Those are like two competing systems, right? It's like rest is like, I think, parasympathetic, and then sympathetic is like fight or flight, where you're like ready to go. That's basically like when you're training, when you're moving around, and so I think whenever you're eating food, you should be in the rest and digest mode. But if you start training after you've been eating food, then I don't know. To me, it just seems like those are two competing systems, and it's not a great idea to eat too close to training. And so I think fasting has helped me a lot. I don't do it as often as I probably should because I think I always have better workouts whenever I fast. But there are some times where it's just like I need to eat before because my workout's later in the day. So I can actually get in enough food throughout the day. But I found that especially if it's like morning training, then like just being fasted is just easy. It makes me feel light. I don't have any like resources being drawn away, and so my stamina, my endurance is just in general better because I have more resources to work out with because my body's just like it already has the energy, right? Like I think that's something that people kind of misconstrue. Like it takes a while to digest food in general, and so if you eat right before your workout, it's gonna take a while before that energy actually gets into your body, right? Because I, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Is you're basically running off of the food that you ate yesterday, or like a week ago or 2 days ago, instead of the energy that you just ate like 5 minutes ago, because that hasn't been broken down yet. You can't really like access that. It's still in like your stomach, basically, you know. So yeah, I like fasting just because I feel lighter, feel better, and so I don't eat too close to training. That kind of goes along with that. It's just because, whenever I eat too close to training, which I still make this mistake of doing sometimes, I generally just feel like a little bit slower, a little bit more weighed down, whatever it is that I ate. I just feel a little bit more weighed down, and it's kind of like, it's a less hype workout. I need, more stimulation, music wise, or I need to like really get into the groove to get a better workout in. But yeah, I find it's better to get a better workout in and a better, performance endurance wise whenever I haven't eaten too close to it or I've maybe even been fasted the whole day leading up to it. But yeah, how else I'm eating to get more endurance and stamina is I'm on a ketogenic carnivore diet. Okay, and that sounds very extreme, but basically what that means is I don't eat any plants, I don't eat any carbs. Zero, zilch, nada, nothing. Uh-uh. Nothing. Nope. I don't eat any carbs. And it's kind of a counterintuitive thing because the vast majority of people out there say that you need to have carbs if you want to be an endurance athlete, right? Carbs are the absolute pinnacle of performance as an athlete, and You see these marathon runners and these endurance athletes just like sucking down sugar gels, or they have some like sugar mixes in their in their electrolytes and in their water, so they're drinking that as they go, or they drink a bunch of like sports drinks like Gatorade and whatnot, all that weird nonsense stuff. But I don't have any of that. I don't have any of that, and yet I'm still a fueled person. How does that make sense? It's because whenever you eat a keto diet, this is something that I've learned recently, is whenever you eat basically just fat, like you have no carbs whatsoever, your body starts to run off of your fat and the fat that you eat, right? And that is actually pretty freaking efficient, especially if you stay on it for a while. It starts to become more and more efficient because your body just gets used to it, right? And your body has way more fat on it than it does carbohydrates. Just think about it. Like, people talk about you need to have carbs to replenish your muscle glycogen and your liver, but whenever you're running off of your fat, like, there's lots of fat just on like my arm, bro. I'm not ultra lean by any means, but I think the stat is that if you're at like 15% body fat, you have so much more energy than your glycogen and your muscle glycogen and your liver glycogen. Like, there's just so much more energy. I don't know that. Like, I kind of lied there. That wasn't a stat. That was just like so much. I think you get what I mean. Like, there's way more fat on your body than there is, glycogen. Even if you are like lean, there is still a lot of energy there. And so even if you haven't eaten any food, you still have a lot of energy to pull from. And if you're in a ketogenic state, so you're not eating carbs, then you can actually pull from those fat stores a lot easier, and that's your energy. So, you don't really need to have carbs constantly because you have your energy right on you. You have the fuel tank right on you. Isn't that awesome? That's pretty sick, in my opinion. And at least that's what I've learned about, being on keto and whatnot. And I've personally found that as an endurance athlete, it hasn't really affected my performance that much in terms of not having carbs whatsoever. Like, I don't really feel any different, at least athletically. I feel way better personally on kind of separately from athleticism, but just like health wise, I feel a lot better. I don't have as much like mental stupidness. Like, I don't have like weird mental brain fog a lot of the time, unless I'm dehydrated or have bad sleep. Like, my brain is so much sharper. My regulation of emotions is better. It's not perfect because I'm still I'm still learning how to deal with it, but it's better than it was before. For like, it's kind of like an odd effect, but I don't have like weird mood swings nearly as much. I feel lighter, feel leaner. I don't have like, my energy is just better in general. And I think all of that is pretty conducive to, training as an endurance athlete, to have more endurance, to have more stamina. Is just, if you feel better, I think you're going to be wanting to push yourself more in training. If you feel better, you're probably recovering better. At least that's my subjective sense. And my sleep is pretty good, I would say. I think whenever it comes to sleep, I don't think your diet affects you that much unless you eat really close to bedtime, then it probably will. I think what more often affects people is just the sleep hygiene itself. Like, are you going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time? Well, that could be a problem. That's something that I'm trying to fix, is my sleep regularity. Like, because it's kind of all over the place. I have like a variation of probably like an hour or so, which is pretty bad. So I'm trying to shorten that down to get really consistent my bedtime and all that stuff. But that's sleep hygiene. And like my diet doesn't really affect that. And so yeah, those are that's how I'm eating to that's how I'm eating and living to get more endurance and stamina. It's training. I'm making sure that my training is on point. I'm making sure that my sleep is better, that sort of thing. But food wise, which is really the main reason of this video, is I'm not eating any carbs, which is kind of controversial, but I think it works for me, and I would encourage anybody to try it out just to see how it works. Like if you find that it doesn't work for you, okay, cool. Experiment with it. If it doesn't work for you, okay, cool. Whatever. Right? It's worked for me, and that's why I would encourage other people to try it, because it might work for you too, and you might feel the other, like kind of like life benefits that I've found as well. And that'd be sick, because I think if there's more people who feel better, you can just do more throughout the day. And that's a great feeling to have. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. I also fast on occasions. That's another reason, another way of how I'm eating is just being lighter, just drinking water, staying hydrated, obviously, but just not eating any food really, and eating after that. And then don't eat too close leading up to training. So a couple hours before, okay, fine. For me personally, it doesn't affect the workout that much. It still can kind of affect it a little bit, but as you get closer to training, if I've eaten too close to it, my body's just like, ooh, like, what are you doing, bro? like sleep, bro. Like, we're in rest and digest mode. Why are you trying to like fight or flight, bro? What are you doing? So yeah, those are the few things that those are the few things I'm doing to get more endurance and stamina, at least in terms of diet and just kind of lifestyle. And so try it out, see how you feel. I encourage experimentation. If you think I'm whack, okay, cool. If you don't think I'm whack, then you should go subscribe and watch all my other videos and do all the YouTube stuff, like share the video, and that would really support me, and I'd really appreciate that. So yeah, it's the end of the video. Thank you for making this far. Sorry. Thank you for making this far. You have like the top 1% attention span if you made it this far. So that's pretty sick. So thank you for watching. Bye-bye.